you get creative when you're truly trying to help and looking for solutions for people. And I think just going back to how can I actually help them, and then your business will be fine. Your business will take care of itself if you are finding solutions for people.
Good afternoon, guys. This is Eric LeClaire over at Push Press, and we are continuing our In the Trenches series. And we've got a superstar with us today. And I say because Miranda and I have actually never had a chance to meet, but yet I laughingly, as we began, I said she's been in my neighborhood about 10 times on the CrossFit HQ certification staff. But obviously, there's a complete difference than coaching at the certification level to what she's doing today. And so I'm super humbled to have an excellent coach, a phenomenal athlete, and today a mom, a wife, and someone who actually has inspired, I'm sure, way more tens of thousands of folks than she probably is aware. But nonetheless, Miranda, thank you for your time and welcome to In the Trenches today.
Oh, thank you. It's funny that you mentioned the neighborhood thing. Because the fact that I'm a wife and now a mom twice, the day after I met my husband, actually the reason that I was in your area was to do the seminar is when I met Julian for the first time, the day before the seminar. I was visiting, another gym that's kind of in that area where he trained, and I met him, and I was in town for the seminar there in your neighborhood. So it's all tied together.
Such a small world. I mean, if we were to go back to the beginning, I mean, there's segments of our population that know you from certain time frames, if you will. Maybe they know the athlete side. Maybe they know the level 1 certification seminar side. Maybe they know the major injury, like who knows where folks have kind of picked up your name. So let's back up to the beginning. How did the word CrossFit come into your world?
Actually, I was a personal trainer already. I had been in the fitness industry for, I want to say like 7 years already as like a group fitness instructor and personal trainer. And I was just honestly bored with my own workouts. I had done some fitness competitions, and not the way that we all think of fitness competitions inside of CrossFit, like the stand on stage in a bikini fitness type of competition.
Right.
And I had done that, and I always felt that it was a little bit weird to judge someone just based off of looking at them.
Sure.
And I was bored with training isolation movements. I had been doing it for a long time. And so I had a conversation with someone around that time about military and how the military trains and the types of things that they do. So I just Googled, I think like Marine Corps training or something, and I found the CrossFit website.
Wow.
I lived in Utah, and there were no CrossFit gyms in my area. I'd never heard of it before. No one that I worked with or was around had heard of it. But that's how I originally found CrossFit, yes.
Do you remember what year that was? I mean, if there was no gyms in Utah, when are you, like, give our audience kind of a time frame? 07, somewhere around there?
This was October of 2007. There were 2 affiliates. Chris Spieler was affiliated, but he was in a rec center about 35 minutes away. And then there was another affiliate that I think just didn't have a location. They might have been in like parks or something like that. That was also like 40 minutes away, right. That I found. But yeah, it was in October of 2007.
So how did that fast track either the education for you or into the sport? Because those are 2 separate entities that, folks know you from. Either you were their level 1 instructor or you were someone they were like, whoa, she's competing.
Yeah. So there was no CrossFit, the sport then. So that it was just the training methodology. And like I said, I was more bored with my own training than with training other people. And I remember, I wish I could find this email. I sent an email out to all my other trainer friends because, you have your little circle. Right. And I said, I found this program. I don't know, like what I think about it. It's like kind of short workouts and it's just one thing a day. I mean, I was used to doing like the elliptical for 30 minutes and then, all the bodybuilding stuff. And I said, but in order for me to figure out if this program actually works, I have to only do this program. Like I can't do the CrossFit workout and do what I'm already used to doing. Cause then it's like, well, which thing is giving you the results? So I sent this email out, like, I'm going to do CrossFit only for a month and I'll let you guys know what I think. I just thought I'd let you know that I'm doing this experiment. And obviously I never sent a follow-up email. Like, I fell in love with it.
You were gone.
Yeah. And I was already in pretty good shape. I mean, I was a trainer. I had competed, like I said, on stage and things like that. But of course, as we all have the story, like, the workouts destroyed me. And the very first workout, because I, did what everybody does, and I'm going to start on Monday. Whatever the workout is on Monday, I'm going to do it. And it was a 4x400 meter run. And that's it.
You're like, wait, what else? What else are we doing?
And no, because I had run track in high school and I was like, oh no.
It's like, oh, this is going to burn and hurt.
Yeah, but it was still super weird that was all I was going to do, for sure, that was short. And so yeah, it took off from there, and I started doing it myself. Once I fell in love with it, obviously I started changing the way that I was training my personal trainer clients. And then what happened was I saw through CrossFit, because I did a lot of one-on-one, maybe one-on-two coaching at the time. I saw these group fitness ideas through CrossFit and watching it. And so I started having bigger groups. I was at a small personal training studio where I paid like a monthly fee to be there. And they did not like that I was training 4, 5, 6 people at a time. And on Saturdays, I would get everybody to come in there, So eventually they kicked me out, and I had nowhere to train people, which led me to open my own gym in March of that next year. So it was only like, I don't know, whatever, 6 months later.
Fast. That's, talk about fast. I mean,
yeah.
The threat, you were like, out of there. That's it.
Yeah. And they were very nice, and they cared about me a lot. They were like big brothers. They kind of tried to talk to me like, hey, this group fitness thing, it's kind of a fad. Like, I don't think this is a good idea for you to be going down this road. And I was just like, you're wrong. Like, in my mind, I was like, I've seen how much people love it in such a short time, and I think that you're wrong. And so I think I borrowed like $1,500 from my parents or something to order some equipment. Yep. And yeah.
Stories are so similar. I remember we had a public, like a semi-private, but a public gym. I remember walking out, dragging my rower with me through the last day when the owner said, CrossFit, XFit, what is this nonsense? Like, same thing, like that. It's a fad. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous fad. It's never going to take off. Oh man. So
can I just tell you though, before we get off of that topic, because you had a similar situation. So I was then working the level ones, I think in 2010 or 2011. So like 2 to 3 years later, the dudes that owned the personal training studio showed up to a level 1 where I was coaching.
Third, and you're like,
yeah, it was really funny.
I so love it. That story's been echoed by so many coaches that have just been around long enough to see the change. And I love it. There's a little bit of humility to it, but at the same time, there's a little bit of like, you were out there focusing forward on, what's the next evolution of training, obviously caring for your clients, but also intrigued and a bit curious for yourself. I dig that. Yeah. So 2010, right, comes, you're still on the level 1 seminar staff. The games start changing. It's no longer really pay to play how it was in like 7 and 8 and 9. Now it's getting serious. When did that become interesting to you?
So I found out about CrossFit a few months after the very first games, but I had been on their website enough to see photos from it and everything. I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds so much fun. I mean, back then it was like a barbecue, like you're saying, you just kind of show up. So I was like, the next year we have to go. Like, we have to go to the 2008 games. And so myself and some of the people from our small affiliate went. And again, like, you just had to show up, say if you were going to do RX or scaled, and they gave you a heat assignment, and we did it. And it was awesome.
Yep.
And I had never, I competed. I did 1 season of track in high school. And then when I was super young, I played hockey. Like, we're talking like 6, 7 years old. Other than that, I played no sports. I was not, I did dance, and I was a high school cheerleader. So I was active, but I was never in competitive sports. And so that was the first time really where I was like competing in more of like an athletic type thing. But it was more back then, it was more just for fun. Like nobody trained for the CrossFit Games in 2008. And maybe it kind of started to pick up in 2009, I want to say. But yeah, I don't really remember ever like making a decision to like try to compete as an athlete. I just loved working out and I worked for CrossFit. And so it was just something I just kind of did.
It just made sense, right?
Yeah.
So did you have a challenge? Because a lot of times folks will start their gym or they'll start their business, and sometimes things will take them in a different direction. How did you balance working for HQ and running your own gym?
So, what ended up happening was my husband at the time, Tyson, who still works for CrossFit, he ended up running the gym for the most part, and I was gone all the time. In 2010, I worked 47 seminars.
Jesus. That's every weekend. I mean, all over were you attached to mainly the West Coast and the South? How did you?
No, back then we didn't have seminar trainers all over the world. So actually that was 2010. Yeah, that was the first year of the Open, right? So I was in Sweden for week one. I want to say Monrovia might have been one of the ones that I was at for during the Open, but I did all 5 open workouts in 5 different locations: Sweden, Hawaii. I think one was home in Utah. One was definitely in California. And it was just, I mean, all over the place.
I'm still so blown away. I mean, I remember sitting, you'll remember the name. I remember sitting at lunchtime during a seminar in Santa Cruz with Tony Budding, and he thought in his mind, I don't know which is going to be better for us, writing the CrossFit Journal or creating these certifications. I don't know which way I'm going to go. I remember that conversation distinctly. Wow. And I think, like, who could have thought that the level 1 seminar would have taken off? I mean, remember, we would go back on and look and see, like, Monday, the picture of the group now, or not now, even in the last 5 years. Now on Mondays, you go on .com and it's the pictures of the groups is like 80 pictures from one weekend.
Yeah.
You think, I mean, you were the front line of that growth, 10, 11, 12. I mean, how many years did you serve on the HQ staff?
I worked for the HQ staff, for the seminar staff for 8 years.
That's huge. So you saw every change, and probably multiple times around the country and obviously around the world.
Yeah, I don't know if you show the video of this to your people, but these pictures behind me are my passport pages blown up.
Oh, no way.
From that time. So just some of them.
That is so cool. What sits in your heart from those travels? Like, if you were to look back now, hindsight 2020, besides, and because we'll get to lessons learned here in a second about, ownership and, gym stuff, but what made you smile the brightest? What made your heart thump the hardest and kept you there for 8 years?
Always watching people overcome their own mental obstacles when they were doing the workouts. Where this it's kind of like an aha moment happens where people realize that they're capable of more than they thought they were. And all it took was somebody telling them, you can do this.
Right. Like a little in them.
Yeah. And that's everywhere you go in the world. It's people are the same, when it comes to like those core things is just, and it changes people's lives. It's not just physical at all.
I mean, yeah, because those folks are taking their experience, even though they only spent 2 days with you, they're taking their experience and they're going back to their community and they're impressing upon their community academically what they learned, but also emotionally, they're bringing back their feeling, whether it's exuberance, excitement, enthusiasm, and they're sharing that. I mean, so by way of coaching at the seminar staff level, you touched hundreds of thousands of people. It's just so impressive. Do you miss anything from those days?
So in the earlier days, we had our team was much smaller and we traveled together and we were like this little family and we were close. I spent more time with the seminar staff, some of the seminar staff members than I did like my own friends and family where I lived.
Sure,
Yeah, so the camaraderie was huge. And again, like seeing those light bulb moments for people, it always invigorated you to go back and do more and be better and keep pushing forward, because you saw that even if it was just a couple people that you saw really got it and left with something, that gives you so much energy.
No, agreed. Absolutely. Talk about being able to pour back into your cup. I mean, you figure the seminar staff from a leadership standpoint, you guys had to be on it yourselves and your staff, but organized, focused. I mean, all the way through while all these powerful moments were happening for the folks that were in attendance.
Yeah.
And any gym owners or coaches that stand out in your memory that are still friends, 8, 9 years later?
Oh man, I mean, for sure that there's still several people on the seminar staff that I talk to all the time. Like Pat Sherwood is still a good friend of mine, and actually, I still talk to Dave quite often, Castro, and Spiel. Specific gyms that I really connected to. Some of my favorite trips were trips to Australia. CrossFit Brisbane was one of my favorite places that I visited. I don't necessarily stay too much in contact with the guys that I met over there, but it's something that I think about a lot. And I mean, honestly, a lot of it runs together.
Yeah, of course. Go, 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 go. It's just business kind of.
Yeah.
They're all over there. So then how then did you have a chance to still focus on your own, how did you organize your in between? Because if you're traveling, hitting 47 seminars, like you still have to focus on you, whether we're talking fitness or nutrition, relationships, family, all of it. What happened in those years leading up to, I mean, here we are today, totally different existence. Did you ever burn out? Did you ever feel like I got to slow this down? I got to stop?
You know, what's so funny is I have a 3-month-old right now.
Yep.
And he hasn't been sleeping very well. He's had good periods and not so good periods. And I was telling Julian, my husband, just yesterday, I was like, there are a few times at seminars where I was like in some random time zone, and it would be Sunday morning, and I would be so tired that in my brain, I was like, I'm not going. I can't go teach today. Like, I'm just not going to go. I'm just not going to show up. And because you're just it makes you literally crazy. Like it makes you crazy when you're sleep deprived. And I was like, this is like that, except for at the seminars, I knew, okay, I just need to get through this one more day and then I can go home and then I can sleep as much as I want. Cause I didn't have kids or anything yet.
Right.
And I was like, there's no going home from this. Like, I'm so tired.
Oh, there's no just let me get till 6 p.m. and I can sleep till Wednesday. No way.
Yeah, exactly. No. So, there was definitely a lot of that. I've said a few times that, if there was one thing that kept me from being a better competitor, it was the travel for sure. But I wouldn't change that for the world. The coaching was always more important to me than placing well in competitions.
Right.
For several reasons. One, because it actually impacts and helps people, where sometimes competition can be a selfish endeavor. And then two, because it was more of a career move for me, honestly. It's working out and doing competitions wasn't really paying me money. I mean, maybe a little bit from like sponsors and stuff, but I mean, this was my job, so I took it very seriously. I can't say that I was the best in my relationship at that time. Neither one of us were. We worked a lot, which is probably why we're not married anymore, but it's all good. And but I loved it. I loved all of it. I loved competing. I loved traveling. And so I wouldn't have taken any of it away.
Were there any, let's say during the time with HQ, were there any, because my mind is thinking of like the organizational leadership, were there any men or women that you worked directly under that helped with inspiration? Like they were excellent leaders, they were excellent coaches, they were someone you looked up to or kind of wanted to emulate. And I say that from a lens of the early days of CrossFit was kind of, this may sound incorrect, but it was kind of a make it up as you go along.
Oh, yeah.
They were feeling their way out in the dark, almost like trying to put the batteries in the flashlight to get it to work before they would go forward. So do you look back and go, I'm glad I had this person leading the charge? Anybody stand up?
I've always really looked, and I still do look up to Nicole Carroll. She was just such a strong female role model in the way that she was such a leader to us, but then also, she's older than me, not a lot older, but it was somebody that was like, look how fit she still is, look how, into it she still is, but she's so smart and well-spoken and just all of it. She's just still a very strong role model to me. But, all of the seminar trainers, especially the flow masters, so the people that would have been in charge. Todd Widman was a huge one. He was always just giving me feedback that I did not want to hear, and made me cry a couple times, but it toughened me up, and he believed in me. And Chuck Carswell, and actually EC, who has her own like nutrition stuff that she does now, is just so smart, and another great female role model. And Lisa, I could keep listing people.
You're giving me goosebumps laying out names of all the folks that were like all in the beginning. I love it. I completely love hearing that. So now something happened along the way that sidelined you for a little bit. You want to kind of talk through what happened?
Yeah. So I was actually working at a seminar in Orange County. I'm assuming this is the story you're looking for. Okay. And I had offered, actually, I was interning to be a flow master myself. So they were like, hey, we're going to give you this leadership position, but you had to intern with it a few times under someone else. And so I was taking it very seriously. And so instead of working out at lunch, I was like, oh, let me do the leader thing and go get everybody coffee and bring coffee back for my team. So while everybody was working out, I left, went to the Starbucks, a mile or two up the road. And as I was turning back into the gym, so I was turning left, I was T-boned by a car who was going straight and crashed. And basically from the seminar side, I just never showed back up. So that's not good during your internship.
Like, dude, what happened? Where'd she get lost?
Yeah, and so this was in 2012, and anybody who's worked on the seminar staff knows that you're never late. You cannot be late, not even like 30 seconds late for anything ever. So the fact that I just seemed like maybe I was just late coming back was weird. And then the participants were all like, oh, there was like a crash out there. And then I guess it was like mid-lecture, the team was like, wait a minute, Miranda never came back. They said there's a crash. So Stefan Rocher, he comes out, he was the flow master there. And I remember seeing him as they're like putting me on a spine board in the car. He's like, are you okay? We'll come to the hospital, whatever. And
finish up, then come later.
Yeah. So they came to pick me up and everything, obviously. And to keep what could be a very long story short, if you're interested in the story, there's definitely places you can find it. CrossFit did like a documentary on the whole thing. They did not diagnose my issue in the ER that day. It took like 2 weeks after that. But in the car accident, I broke my neck in 2 places and I broke my hand. And I ended up walking around with a C2 fracture for 17 days before I had it fixed, which included the CrossFit Games that I did not compete in, but I was working. And then, I had to have it fused to fix it.
Wild. Absolutely wild. Where was your head and your spirit during that time?
Well, during the 17 days, I thought I had whiplash. Like I didn't know what whiplash felt like. I had never had it before. So I just was like, man, this is like really, really bad. I couldn't brush my teeth because like, even like that much motion hurt. I had to sleep sitting up, but I was just like, okay, whatever, whiplash. And, I was just like, it's going to get better. It's fine. It's annoying, but it's fine, whatever. And then when I found out that it was broken, luckily, because my hand doctor told me that whiplash doesn't last that long. And so he x-rayed my neck. And then I went, I was definitely scared once I knew that my neck was broken and that they had to go in. I mean, I know the human body as a trainer, like I know all the nerves and stuff that are in there that they're going to be poking around and trying to fix and everything with the fusion. So I was a little worried about the surgery and the recovery and everything from that. But whether it's this situation or I, had another injury in 2015 when I tore my ACL or the pregnancies, you just kind of, there's something that clicks in my brain. I don't think I'm a very mentally tough person, to be honest, but there's like a switch, at least when these things have happened, that it's like, you just do what you can do, like one day at a time. And so I don't think that I ever thought too far ahead.
Wow. I think that would have derailed so many folks. So I talk about perseverance and resiliency. I mean, the fact that you were able to bring it back down to focusing one day at a time speaks volumes to what you can handle. And moreover, what, if anything comes down the road again, you've like built in this mechanism for success. I mean, I've seen a lot of very traumatic events occur, and it sidelines a lot of people forever. And they don't ever want to come back to, activity, fitness, function, exercise, you name it.
Yeah.
Let's jump forward then. And so today the picture is totally different than what HQ looked like, running the gym looked like. How did that bridge occur? Where did you kind of change in your head thinking about delivering service, programming, teaching, remote coaching? Talk me through that.
It's all kind of tied together, and it's so great to see like how life works and how your life, if you just follow it and, trust yourself, where it will take you and how it all comes together. I would say that there was never like let me switch gears here or anything like that. So, I've loved fitness for a long time. So even when I was in the car accident, one of the reasons that I just kind of kept working out was because it was part of my identity at that point. And I don't mean that in like my identity as an athlete. It's I identify as a person who works out, and that doesn't change no matter what happens to me. Like that's just part of who I am.
Right.
And it was the same with the travel. A lot of the trainers were mostly very good about working out on the road. Some definitely more than others. And so I had done so many workouts in hotel rooms at that point, and with random equipment, or just in my, a hotel gym, or literally like burpees in my room. Cause it was just, again, part of who I am. Yeah. And then the remote coaching or the sharing of the programming thing, actually the very first place that I did that was, and I don't know if you remember this or not, in like 2013, the group of us that worked out at NorCal had the NC Lab.
Yep.
And we shared our workouts that we did every day on a website. And this was like early days of Instagram. We started posting some stuff on Instagram. That was my idea. I was like, we should share this. People would love it. Like they want to see what we're doing.
Yeah. And today it's expected. I mean, from games athlete all the way through, best practices at gyms, folks sharing content, delivering content, Train Heroic, Wattify, True Coach. I mean, all that stuff. So you thought to yourself, this can be a brand, it can be a business, or how did you decide to go that route? What gave you that confidence?
Yeah, I've always had kind of just like a natural knack for marketing type stuff. Before this call today, I was like trying to think back to how that kind of all came to be. Somehow randomly, when I was like 22 years old, I read like The Fall of Marketing and the Rise of PR, just because it's interesting. And I had no use for it really. I mean, I was a personal trainer, so I guess I just like market myself, but I've just kind of always had a knack for it, but it's never been like, let me create a business in order to make a bunch of money. It's always been like, what do people need and how can I help them with that? And I know that sounds fake, but it's at least for me, it's 100% how everything that I have in my life has kind of come to be. So I was still working on the seminar staff. I had moved to Southern California. Julian and I were dating, but he lived like an hour and a half away. He lived in Northern LA and I lived in Orange County. And you might as well live in a different country at that point.
Traffic's not going to let you guys hang out.
Yeah. So when we were together, the last thing we wanted to do was then try to drive to the gym. And so a lot of times we would work out at his house. If we were at his house, or if we were at my house, we would go, to the apartment gym or whatever. We were traveling a lot. I mean, we were dating and he was a trainer and I had like a lot of flexibility with my schedule because I was still just, working seminars and stuff. So we were in hotel gyms a lot. And what we noticed, because Instagram was much bigger then, or this was 2015, is that when we would post like a hotel workout or a workout in his garage, that people, the comments and the engagement was so much higher than if, I mean, he was a games athlete too, right? So then if he posted a snatch PR, we were getting more engagement on like our burpees and air squats, you know?
You tapped into an audience that could resonate with that exact situation rather than the snatch PR at a Chalk or some other gym.
Yeah, exactly. And he was coaching his cousin who was super out of shape, and he would just show how he could modify the workout so that his cousin could do it with him so they didn't have to work out alone. And we were just, and so I think one day I was just like, hey, like I should start a separate Instagram page the same way that I did for the NC Lab. And we could just share these workouts that we do at home. And I think people would really like it. And so that was like the first thing. And then it was like, hey, we could like, I don't know, like sign up with one of these platforms so that people can log their scores. Yep. So that they can have like a little community, because they're all just working out alone and they will probably want to see what other people are doing. And yep. It was like, literally we joke around about it, but I said, it'd be so cool if we had like 100 members and it helped us pay like some of our rent. And that was it. That was the goal.
Folks later, Jesus, about it's almost like the back of the napkin plan where you're just like, oh, this would be cool if we could do this, or this would be cool if we could do that. Fast forward, you guys are doing an amazing job. You're helping tens of thousands of people. How do you keep it in order?
Oh man, I don't know that it is in order. Luckily, so it obviously it grew much faster than we expected. I think we had like 700 members after the first month or something like that. And we were like, okay, well, the day after we launched the Instagram page, or I want to say within a week after we launched the Instagram page, I found out I was pregnant, and we had just moved in together. Also that same week. So
wild.
So, I thought that it wasn't going to go anywhere because I was pregnant, and I, talk about like what people remember, what section of my journey people remember. I thought people want the Miranda abs program. They don't want Miranda pregnant program. Like, this is not going to work. And it had the exact opposite effect. It was like, finally I was more relatable. And I mean, many, many women have babies and they want to know what to do and they want some advice. And so it actually probably made our program more successful than it would have been otherwise. And for the first the first year and a half, it was just myself and Julian.
Right.
And neither one of us, if you know us, are the most organized people.
Even together, we an organized person. I love it.
Yeah, I would say we're both very hard workers and we're very thorough and we will do whatever it takes to get it done. But we weren't the most efficient or organized in anything we were doing. Then, similar to yourself, we were like, we got to get out of California. This is too expensive and ridiculous here. So we moved, and I worked actually for Progenics at the time, and he had a meal prep company at the time. And when I was coming back from my maternity leave, I think we had like 1,500 members or close to 2,000 members. And it was like, if we hit 2,000 members, I will quit Progenics and I will just do this. And we did it during my maternity leave. So I never went back to Progenics. And then he sold his business and we said, well, let's do it. Like, let's see if we can, make this be something. So we moved away and we hired our first official employee here in Washington.
Right.
And she was a member who wrote in and just offered to help with whatever we needed. And she still works for us to this day. She's, handles so much now, and she is very organized and everything. So that's kind of, our team is what keeps us afloat for sure.
That's a huge element that we try to touch on the In the Trenches series, is about organizational leadership and or staff development. You're in charge of so much. Your brilliance, your organization structure obviously has changed, but your leadership style, these folks buy into you, they buy into the brand, they're excited to be along with that. how do you not let that get to your head?
So actually, we just had a conversation about this with with our CPA, who has also taken on a bunch more roles that are not common for a CPA. He does a lot of like HR type things and stuff for us too, who was our neighbor in California and had never done CrossFit before, and just one day asked Julian if he could work out with him.
That must have been hard for him to say, hey, is it possible if yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And now they're like best friends, but we just had a conversation with him the other night, and it's kind of like going back to what you said, the question previously, and then I'll answer this one. You have to know what you're good at and what your strengths and weaknesses are. Most of the time, a founder of a business, whether it's an online business or an app or whatever, is more like you're saying, like a visionary person, and is not necessarily well equipped to have a staff of 40 to 45 people.
Is that where you guys
are? That's not always
the. What's the company size today?
45, if you include like part-timers and stuff.
Wow. From you guys in the garage in the hotel room. Outstanding.
Yeah. And just more recently, it's like, hey, I know that what Julie and I both are good at is the message, is the vision, is connecting with members, is delivering the message, not necessarily answering daily emails and, putting things on the calendar. And I mean, you probably felt this way trying to get a hold of me.
Yeah, yep, I believe it. I mean, the story is not unlike the growth in a handful of other different sectors, but there's definitely something special, your characteristics and your ability, like you said earlier, to resonate with moms. We're a new family, right? We said earlier, we've got a almost 9-month-old, and the flexibility and creativity, you guys have placed a level of care in your programming. The street parking programming has multiple layers of options for folks. And do you take it a step farther? Like, do you offer today, and maybe you do, maybe you don't, do you still personally work with people, moms or otherwise?
I don't do any so we don't really do a lot of one-on-one through street parking. We have it as an option, but we don't really try to push people to it too much. But we do connect on a personal level on our Facebook groups and on Instagram. And I try to answer as many DMs as possible and things like that. Sure. And we have a staff of coaches now to make sure that if people have questions, that they're helped out in that way. Sure. We try to cover as many of those questions just in the delivery of the daily workouts as possible. So that's why we have the 4 different versions and why we show all the subs and modifications. We give instructions on how to choose your weight, how long each round should take, and all, like, as much info front loaded as possible. And I mean, I think that I'm pretty good at programming. I really, really enjoy it. It's like an artistic outlet for me. But as we were talking about before, I've been around the best coaches in the world. And I know that other people are great at it too. It's whether or not you're willing to put the time into all of that information with every single workout. And it's a lot.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it's not as simple as 5 heavy deadlifts and 20 wall balls for tomorrow, right? You've got every aspect of beginner to intermediate to advanced to elite. So who is using the platform? What are the intentions? I think the background and the notes give a really thorough overview of the intention you're seeking or the stimulus you're trying to get them to think about as they go forward. It's well done. There's not a lot of programs out there that provide that much context, as particularly for the price point. I think the price point's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
So now looking forward, I mean, you've got a fantastic support structure. You've got a fantastic, team working, but at the exact same time, your mom, your wife, what about you? What are you excitedly, I mean, obviously COVID put a cramp on a lot of businesses. I don't know if it put a cramp on your personal growth for the company, but what are you excited about looking forward to, say, as we close out 2020, and what's on the horizon for 2021? Anything you can speak to?
Yeah. So we actually had a lot of growth during COVID because we were we're an at-home workout program. So it worked out well for us, and we feel for all the affiliates, and we actually hope that they all, as many as possible can make it through it. What I'm excited for is our staff that we've been talking about. Up until recently, it has felt as though they were all new hires, which new hires, as you know, still need a lot of babysitting or hand-holding or, making sure that but that period is now kind of passing a little bit. And so what we're going to be able to do as a team, where we're not constantly training so many new people at a time and getting them all on the same page. A ton of people have moved here for us. Feels like we're going to be able to finally find our organizational flow.
Awesome.
And what we're going to be fighting against is something that I see happen in the fitness space so often, especially when it comes to programming, is overcomplicating it because we're bored. I see people do that so often. So for us, it's going to be more about, Siri thinks I'm talking to her. For us, it's going to be more about keeping the members excited for how simple fitness really is, because people fall off because they get bored or whatever, or something comes up. So we have some really fun ways and really fun ideas of just keeping our members engaged and reminding them to have fun with it. Yeah.
I dig it. I totally dig it. I mean, there are some amazing platforms out there right now that have missed that point, and their failure to keep engagement high means that the client is often focused on, whatever else comes down the road. I mean, I'm super pumped to see what, because I know there are bits of gamification and bits of competition that gets thrown around. But I'm like I said earlier, I feel kind of bad for some of the coaches out there and some of the affiliates out there that have not had an opportunity to thrive, or COVID really kind of smashed them down. If you could use our platform today to speak on behalf of yourself or speak on behalf of your brand, any words of wisdom for those struggling gym owners, whether we're talking encouragement, vision, mission, and values, anything that you could think of that could send a positive message to keep in that fight, or like you said earlier, turn the switch, focusing one day at a time. Any thoughts for those folks that are having a hard time coming out of this downturn?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just have to, the number one thing that's always, to me, that's going to lead you in the right direction is truly wanting to help people and looking for ways to give people what they need, and not always necessarily what they want to hear or what they think they need, but as a coach, what they actually need. And so, for us, it was, we found the need of people even before it was such a, it was everyone. We saw the need for people to be able to work out at home, these moms or these people who traveled or whatever. If you don't really care what people need and about helping them, then you're always going to be searching in the wrong places for how to keep your business afloat, I think.
Yep. Agreed. 100%. That's huge.
If you are like, how can I help these people? I really want to help. What do they need? And how can I provide it to them? What that looks like might change. If they can't come to you, you're going to start getting creative. And I don't have all the answers. I mean, and people will probably come up with stuff that I've never even thought of, but you get creative when you're truly trying to help and looking for solutions for people. And I think just going back to how can I actually help them, and then your business will be fine. Your business will take care of itself if you are finding solutions for people.
Outstanding. So if folks have been inspired by listening to you today, how can they find you? How can they connect with Street Parking? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, our main Instagram is @Street Parking. So that's pretty easy. I'm Fearless Miranda on Instagram. Streetparking.com is our website. And we have a Facebook page also, just on, just Street Parking on Facebook. Yeah.
I love it. I totally love it. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed today's discussion. It's been great to kind of catch up. I know we've circled a bunch of different communities for a while, and I'm finally happy to get a chance to sit down. Like I said, you have inspired not only a handful of our clients. Selling and retiring the gym is kind of like stepping away, but watching clients engage with your brand. We've had a couple of folks that have moved to different states, and you have been their salvation. They've maintained exercise because of the care that you've put into your programming and the care that you've put into your community as well. It's not just about, push press and weighted step ups today. It's about the care you guys put into the whole brand. So I really want to just say thank you, coach to coach. I want to say I appreciate your work ethic.
Oh, thank you.
Right on. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, make sure you like our channel, subscribe, and check out our other videos right here.